Welcome so much to Crafting Your CF Story. We so appreciate it. Yay! This is such an important topic, and sometimes we forget to stop and think and talk about this because we've all been doing it for so long and telling people our story for so long that, we lose sight on the fact that sometimes we really need to stop and think about it. If you're very emotionally involved in this cause, it's easy to feel almost overwhelmed by the emotion of it all when you only have a minute or two to explain to somebody why it is you're doing what you're doing and maybe inspire them to take action. How is it that you condense a whole world of emotion into a couple sentences? Because that's all you got, your elevator speech. Or what if you're someone who doesn't have a direct connection to CF? How do you portray your passion for this organization? And how do you portray it quickly and inspire people? Such an important position to really consider. And thirdly, the people at home in your chapters really need this help just as much as all that we do. So how do you inspire others to really take a moment to really think about it? How do you train your board members to do the same? Your volunteers, everyone should be prepared to talk about this amazing, extraordinary organization and to be able to express themselves. Right? That's CFF 101. So that's what we're here to talk about today and maybe share a few practices. My name is Angie Kinney. I want to welcome you all, and I want to welcome our live streamers today to our session. And I'd love to introduce you to our Volunteer Engagement Committee, who has been amazing in helping us develop the program, and we've asked and solicited their help in this session. Many of them are here today. Maybe I could have you stand up when I say your name. There's Katrina Young and Kathy Wood. And Roberta, are you out there? And Katie Mabry. And Jessica. Margaret. John Franklin couldn't make it today with us, so he may be live streaming. Jackie Struby and Robert Cordy. And we have Molly Riley as our staff partner at National, who leads our amazing committee and the work that we do. And we consult heavily with Eileen Miley as well in our committee. And Julia, thank you so much for everyone being here and participating in this. A little bit of an overview about what we want to talk about. We think that when you're trying to kind of craft your story and put it together, it's good to just get back to basics. And if you're teaching others to do this, it's great to just take them through a few basic exercises that can help you do this. And those are basically just some simple questions. And I'll give you some examples of 5 simple questions, and then we'll practice a little bit ourselves and talk about it. The first exercise would be, why do I care? Why is this something that's important to me? It's the most elementary question, but how would you answer that quickly and effectively and passionately? Number 2, why should someone contribute to your organization? That's one we spend a lot of time about. And then how do you tell a story about how someone has been helped by your organization? And what are you raising money for? And then lastly, what's your vision? What's the world without CF look like to you? This is why you're doing what you're doing. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Kathy Wood, who was kind enough to stand in for John, who was part of many of us that are stuck in the travel madness that was happening with all the storms and wasn't able to get here. So she could talk a little bit about how she answers the question, why should I care?
Thanks, Angie. Again, my name is Kathy Wood. My daughter Kate is 12. She has cystic fibrosis. I use my elevator speech in many ways, and I think the talking points that Amy spoke about this morning really hit upon my delivery and my elevator speech or my story. I use my story in different ways. We run a fairly large event. My family hosts, and we recruit people to the event. We secure silent auction donations. I've spoken at a few events. I have just general networking. So, I always do start off my story, introducing myself, talking about my daughter Kate has cystic fibrosis. I talk about what cystic fibrosis is, being a lung and digestive disease. We talk about the life expectancy. And I also draw it all the way back to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and its mission and the importance of whether it's fundraising, securing donations. But without the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, we cannot move forward with the mission of curing all people with cystic fibrosis. And although, as I mentioned about the life expectancy, with the strides that have been made, it can't move forward and increase and improve outcomes without financial support. So, again, just a few data points, again, echoing what Amy said this morning, but making it personal, whether bringing a picture of Kate, but, really tugging on some heartstrings as well, especially if I'm trying to secure a silent auction donation or, of course, secure a donation. So that's
okay. Thank you so much, Kathy. So, why do I care? The most elementary of questions. That should be the first thing that our board members and our key volunteers should be able to answer, and what we should be going home to encourage them to do. So, what we'd like to do is just give you guys about 5 minutes to. You'll see that there's a worksheet on your table to kind of make some notes, and we thought you could just turn to the person next to you and take 30 seconds to explain to them, and we're all family here, in the most casual way, but why is it that you care? How do you express that? And then maybe turn to the person on the other side and continue to share like that for a few minutes, and then we'll come back together, and if anyone has something really special that they heard or liked or would like to share with the group, then we'll take a few minutes to do so. We will have a question and answer session at the end. And for those of you on live stream, if you're looking to ask a question, just like you have been able to do through this whole conference, you can log on to cff.cnf.io and you can submit your questions and we'll be fielding them here. So thank you. So take a little time to think about this. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that exercise. Thank you so much. Good job, everyone. I know you probably feel like you just got started and you could talk forever, but and you probably made some new friends and learned about each other and why it is that you have the mission that you have. So I'd like to just say, does anybody want to share either or something that they generally use to talk about why it is they care? You can tell your own short little story, or you can paraphrase a story you just heard from your new friend next to you. Anybody have anything they'd like to share? Awesome. Thank you, honey.
So I'll share what I shared with my friend Shelly. I am involved in typically engaging a lot of young professionals who maybe don't have a connection or just interested in getting involved in something. So the why should I care that I typically tell them is you should care because if you're going to invest your time in something and you're going to find your place in philanthropy, do it somewhere that you can literally be part of here. And that's it.
That's wonderful, Jessica. Thank you. We don't have a roaming mic, do we? Just so our at-home listeners can. Okay, we'll do that for the next person who has a question. But just to kind of paraphrase, Jessica was saying that basically, if you're going to get involved in something, this is the mission because it's worth your time and effort because we are curing a disease together. So very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Because everybody's time is, short. And everybody wants to make sure that it's being well spent. Anybody else can share either something that they share or why they care? Why it is you get involved? Okay, thank you. So we have, or that might be John.
I know.
Go ahead.
Look
You
at
start
that. John Franklin is live streaming. He was supposed to be here, but wasn't due to the weather. But he did just text us, and he said, "I care because my daughter has cystic fibrosis. I care because the foundation is responsible for the great advances made to keep her healthy. I care because the foundation is a winning team that will find the cure, and I care that because of Cystic Fibrosis Foundation that he has hope." Thanks, John, for sharing that.
Yeah, so basically, thank you, John, so much for sharing that. So basically, it's as simple as that. Your the simple elements of your story. Why are you involved? Why it moves you? How it is that you fulfill that passion for this organization. And those three elements really work together to sort of inspire action in other people as they're talking. And they sort of set the stage for someone saying, how can I help? What can I do? And these crazy stories happen. Sometimes we have a great story. Molly was telling me about in the New York chapter. Anybody here from there? And Martine said that it's a literal elevator speech in an elevator, taking just a minute or two to explain why someone was involved with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, ended up in a $10,000 donation. And that's kind of crazy. It doesn't happen all that often, but you just never know. And, we need to be ready, and we need to teach those that are working with us back home to be ready and how to speak the speak and talk the talk. Anybody else like to share anything, either at home or in here in our audience or up here, guys, about why you care? And we can move on if so. Yes, right.
I'm driven not only by my one daughter that does have CF, but also by the one that doesn't. It's the love that my daughters have for each other is really special, and I want that to be something that carries them both through adulthood.
See, that's beautiful. So for those of you at home that might have missed what she said in the beginning, it's not just about her daughter that has CF, it's about the daughter who doesn't have CF and their interaction and wanting them to grow up together and to support each other through life. And boy, is that a very quick and powerful way to explain, why you fight as hard as you do. So thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share before we move on? So another way we like to look at this is, what about those people that don't have a direct connection, that might not have such an emotional piece to share on the spot? We have so many of our warriors in this community that don't have a direct connection, right? We love them so much. How is it that they can actually share their passion for that? And with that, I'd like to kind of turn it over to Katie to kind of share a little bit about how she answers that question.
Hi, I'm Katie Mabry from Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the Sooner CF chapter. And, a lot of people think that maybe the families with CF have it easy because they have a story that's so close to their heart to tell. But really, I think if you organize your thoughts, it's really just as easy to tell the story if you don't have a connection because of this foundation. So I did not know anybody with CF when I first got involved. I kind of met Lo Dietrich in the beginning, but it was kind of right around the same time. So like I said, I have a lot of friends that have been affected by cancer. My own grandfather died from early onset Alzheimer's. That's probably something that I could very easily and passionately get involved with. But I chose cystic fibrosis because I wrote down a few reasons I'll go through. But yeah, so I chose cystic fibrosis. The other thing is my family owns a bank in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the surrounding areas. And my own family, they want to give to local foundations. I mean, we do a lot of giving, but we keep all the money local. So we do a little bit for Alzheimer's because of my grandfather, but other than that, it's really about focusing on the local because we're a local bank, which makes a lot of sense. So I really had to sell the story to my own family as well, as a $1 billion bank, and why we should give to the to the foundation. So I wrote down the 5 reasons why I give my time. Number 1, I think it's important. I mean, I always have a quick speech ready, but one of the most important things is that this is an orphan disease. If you're talking to people who aren't involved and why they should be involved, I mean, cancer is the easy one probably, but it's more important to me that, especially if I'm going to give my time and I'm going to give my money, I want to give it to somewhere where I know I can truly make a difference. And the fact that this is an orphan disease, I think, is really a top reason for somebody to get involved that doesn't have a family connection. Another one that's really big for me is that over 90 cents on every dollar goes back to the foundation. That's an incredible number, you guys. I mean, what this foundation is be able to do to control costs means a lot to a family business that's giving to a foundation. One thing that we've done in Tulsa is that the CF office in Tulsa has made it easy for me to volunteer. I mean, easy. I'm on a lot of foundations in Tulsa, very involved. I'm also the director of marketing for the bank and owner of the bank on the executive committee and whatnot. And so my time is stretched pretty thin. And so for me to be able to do something with the foundation that really supports me when I try to support them is big. And just a little shameless plug here. The volunteer engagement committee has really started helping that be consistent across all different chapters across the nation. So hopefully it'll be easy for everybody before long. The 4th thing I always talk about are the advances made. I'm not going to go through those with you guys today. You know them by heart. But the advances, I mean, that story changes almost monthly at this point. So that's pretty incredible. So there's always something new to be able to tell. And then number 5 is the families. It's incredible to be able to meet a family, which you don't get to do that often because they don't get to come to a lot of the events. But knowing that these families are going through this, they can't do it by themselves and they need the help of other people that don't have a connection. And so it's really important for those groups. So that leading into the next portion of your group work is, those were my 5 reasons. So if you guys want to take a few minutes and talk to each other about your 5 reasons as to what gets you involved, and then we'll share.
Yeah, so talk amongst yourselves and try to come up with what you think are the 5 most important reasons that why someone should engage with the foundation. And then maybe we'll call on each table to read their 5 and or just read something that has not yet been mentioned by another table. We appreciate that. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. We appreciate that. What we'd like to do is maybe have someone at each table share their 5 reasons. And if something's already been said and you just want to, introduce something that someone hasn't heard yet, we'd love to hear it. Molly, you have the microphone right now. Do you want to share a little bit about what your table talked about?
Sure, Angie. We talked about one of the top reasons is we want to be a part of a winning team. When we go out and start talking to potential supporters and we lead with, do you want to be on a winning team? Do you want to be a part of a team that is going to cure a disease? Who's going to say no to that? And the fact that we are making a difference in people's lives today, not in 10 years, not in 20 years, not somewhere down the road, but we're making a difference today. That was number 2. And these are not in any order, but the community. Do you want to be a part of the most unbelievable community that cares for one another? Who wouldn't want to be a part of that community? That was one of that was our third. The fact that we are good stewards of everybody's resources. So we do take into account what people do, and we're good stewards of it, and we are also very thankful and grateful, and so that was reason number 4. Help me out here. Oh, we have great CF care centers. How could I forget?
Oh, wonderful.
And so those were our 5.
I love those 5, and I think my favorite is the one about, it's about today, right? It's easy to share our slogan of adding tomorrows. But it's a nice, quick way to remind people those tomorrows are our children's todays. You know, particularly if you're a family member, to talk about what your kids are up to and that they're doing what they're doing because of what the foundation has done and because of what we've done with all our hard work.
So we're going to put in a little shameless plug. We were sitting here at our table talking about taking this exercise back to our chapters and to our committees. And much like Drusy said this morning, you know, our families, they live with CF day after day after day after day. They've been working on great strides, perhaps, you know, it'll be 30 years this year, or they've been working on a gala. And so sometimes people are tired, and we're tired, right? It's Saturday morning, and we've been at this for a few days, and we're sitting here doing this exercise of, you know, what are your top 5 reasons? And you could just feel the 4 of us were like, this is why we do what we do. And so we are training the trainers. Bring these exercises back to your chapters, back to your committee meetings, back to your board meetings, and I guarantee you it will be that lift that sometimes people need. So we just wanted to share that real life experience that just happened at this table at 11:20 on a Saturday morning, and we've been up since 7, right? So sorry.
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, and as you pass the mic on to another table, well, I'll just mention that it's true. We're not just inspiring other people, we're inspiring ourselves. You know, we all need that, right? We've been fighting this fight for a long time. So it's good to remember what it is that gets us excited about our mission in our most exhaustive days. So maybe over here at this table, does someone want to share anything that wasn't just mentioned? Kim, do you have?
Kim.
Yeah, Kim. Come on, Kim. We'd like to hear your voice.
My caffeine just kicked in, so I was telling them I'm ready to go, like, bring a bell, start firing up people in the hotel. You know, we had almost the exact same 5. But I'll expand on that a little bit, because what we were talking about is, for a few of us here at the table that are working with folks that don't have a connection, you know, one of the things we were saying is that the connection piece is very important. So when you're talking to people and they say, why should I get involved? One of the things that I say, the reason that I got involved is because the sense of community. Because I'm involved with a lot of organizations, and you know, my husband and I give to a lot of charities. We don't have children. We have pets, so we're those people. We don't make them wear outfits, though. But, you know, we could get involved with a lot, but the reason that we keep coming back year after year, and he continues to get more involved as well with CF, with me. He was just talking about it last night. He's like, I should have come with you, right? So he's really starting to get on board. The reason is because when I look around this room, I just see friends. It's true. I mean, it sounds hokey, but it's true. I feel completely attached to this community. And when people say, why do you get involved, Kim? You don't have a connection. I say, are you kidding? I mean, I am friends with all of these people in this room. I see familiar faces. I hear your stories. It means so much to me. It does. It speaks to my heart. So that's what I try to sell. That's my elevator speech. So, and when you're talking to people that are young, or you're talking to people that, you know, haven't, you know, been engaged with the charity before, one of the things you can tell them is, yes, this is a winning team. Absolutely. We can show progress not just every year, we can show progress every month. We can tell amazing stories about how people are being positively impacted by this disease, but that there are other people that need this help. So in a time where social networks have caused a lot of us to spend our time like this and not like this is a way to tell people that you can connect. You can connect with other people and become part of this broader community, and I think that's really powerful.
Thank you so much, Kim. We appreciate that. Margaret or Roberta, anything come up at your tables that you'd like to share that hasn't kind of already haven't heard?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm JB from Atlanta, and I'm a dad of an 18-month-old, so I'm still kind of new at this. This is really sort of our second year being involved, and it's something I kind of took away from what you guys were talking about at your table as well. And in terms of kind of reaching out to others, you know, it was easy to get my folks involved, and my sister and brother and, you know, cousins and the immediately immediate family around us and our friends involved. But it's been sort of the challenge for our kind of second year of going through this and raising money for Great Strides has been sort of reaching out to that community of friends and putting our head down in social media, like you said, even though I kind of can't stand that. But it kind of got me back on Facebook again. But, I mean, we've started seeing money coming in from people that I haven't talked to in 10, 20 years, people whose names I don't even recognize because they're friends of friends. So it's just been one of those things, just the challenge for us has been about kind of reaching that second level of fundraising and getting those people involved and kind of what that's been like.
Wonderful. Anybody else have anything to share? Hasn't been brought up yet? Yes. Back there, Molly.
Hi, I'm Susan from here in Dallas. And with both of our exercises, the quality of life thing came up. And so I think that that's really important to highlight, that the CF Foundation is not just about adding tomorrows. I distinctly remember Bruce Marshall, as so many of us often do as we talk about this, choking up and saying it's not just about adding tomorrows, it's about having better lives today. It was very soon after they sort of adopted that second part of the slogan. So my new friend Larry here shared another quick phrase that's similar to that. It's not just about adding years to the life, it's about adding life to the years. And I think that's so powerful, and that's a very quick thing to say because my daughter's 6, and all you see in her is life. And you don't see the hours of her life that are taken away just to prolong the years of her life. So I think that's really important that the CF Foundation does also focus on.
That's a beautiful example and perfect example of how you can just take a few words and be able to express why it is that this is such a powerful mission. And that's an example someone can share whether they have someone in their life with CF or not. Just talking about the CF community and our mission. So that's very beautiful. So again, why should someone engage with the CF Foundation? That is something that we as key volunteers for this organization should be able to answer. What are our 5 top reasons? And how would you casually work those into conversations with people? And how do we encourage those at home to do the same? Everyone on our boards should be able to list their 5 top reasons, share their 5 top reasons. So this is a great exercise to take home. And another exercise is really just to practice how to tell a story about someone who has been directly affected by the work of this foundation. Obviously very powerful. And this is when you really get into storytelling. How has this organization directly impacted someone? And with that, I lead into Katrina, who, what I love about Katrina is she is a storyteller. And she's big on social media. She's really the queen of being able to thank people and to express herself. And she does so in very beautiful ways. So I'm really interested to hear from her. What do you do when you only have a few moments? How do you condense that? Are you able to reach someone just as much as you are when you're able to have a 10-minute conversation with them? So Katrina, share with us, please.
Absolutely. I'm Katrina Young. I'm from the San Diego chapter. And as Preston Campbell tells us, we are the most amazing story out there. And the most important thing to remember in that is that story is you. You have a story. You know someone who has CF. We wouldn't be here if we didn't know someone with CF. And it's to share that story. And just like any story, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And those are your 3 stories, your 3 parts of your story. And you can elaborate on it more if you have more time. But in a very quick elevator speech, you can come up with a very impactful story in 3 quick sentences. So the first part of your story is basically the gist of what everything we do. Why? Why do we walk? Why do we cycle? Why do we dance? Why do we volunteer? And to kind of dig in and kind of come up to your connection. Mine is obvious. I have a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old son with cystic fibrosis, and so he's my connection. He's my family. So that's very, very obvious. But I think you need to take it one step further and not even talk about just my connection, but what is my connection to the CF community because of my connection. And because the CF Foundation has become such an important part of my family, that the CF Foundation basically is my family. And so that's my true connection. So beyond just my family, the CF connection is the CF connection. So that's my very first sentence. And at the very end, I'll tell you my whole story, but I'll kind of go piece by piece. So the second part is the gist of your story. It's the why is the CF Foundation so important to you? Why is my son so important to me? And that's, you should have like a million thoughts going on in your mind. And the hardest part of that story really is to nail it down to what's going on right now in your life. And as we've repeatedly said, that might change from day to day or week to week. There's so many great advances that are coming up that those change day to day. Our children grow and they have new activities, and so that changes day to day. So it's getting down to the gist of it. So for me, it's the simple fact that my son is a freshman in college, actually right here at SMU University. So he would not be a college student without the support of the CF Foundation. I know that without a doubt. So that's my gist of my story. But in addition to that, he also has been volunteering for the CF Foundation for so many years. The CF Foundation, like I said, is his family. And we are lucky enough in San Diego that we have a lot of biotech in our backyard. And so he has made a lot of connections with those biotech firms. So a few weeks ago, he reached out to Vertex Pharmaceuticals and asked if they had internship opportunities. They immediately wrote him back saying that it would be very meaningful for both him and for them to have him in his labs. So this summer, he's going to be working on rare CF mutations in the labs in La Jolla. So that's our big story. And the very final piece of it is just going down to you. It's that ultimate why is what's your values, what's important to you, and for me, this it's maybe your biggest wish, kind of like what Ginger had us do. What is your big wish? When you put a candle in that cake, what do you close your eyes and wish for? And mine, very simply, is just for my son to have the exact same hopes and dreams that he would have if he didn't have CF. And so the CF Foundation is doing that that's something we bought into and believed in at the very beginning, and it's something that's coming true as a college student who's going to be working in a lab that's curing his disease. So if you were to get me in an elevator and I had just a few minutes with you and I wanted to really hit you with a good CF story, my story would sound like this. The CF Foundation has become my son's extended family because he grew up surrounded by the knowledge the entire community was actively fighting for his future. Today, I'm proud to say that he's majoring in biology at SMU and recently hired to intern with Vertex Pharmaceuticals working on rare CF mutations in San Diego this summer. In every sense, the CF Foundation supports my son's dreams.
So you see the simplicity in that, right? There's so much heart and emotion. She said it just, and she read that to us, but you can see how she could work all that casually into a conversation with someone when she only had a few minutes, right? And this is huge to all of us, huge. And sometimes because it's so huge, we might not take the time to explain what it is that we do and why we do it. And that's not right, because we are extraordinary. And as extraordinary volunteers for this organization, we're prepared and we're ready. And we know how to prepare other people. So I love that example. We're going to give you all just a couple minutes to just think a little bit and make some notes about your own story, your own pieces, and how you'd break that down into 3 sentences if you had to. We're going to catch up on time a little bit, so we'll just give you a couple minutes and we'll round back shortly. Okay, Molly's got the microphone. We just have about 8 minutes left in our session, so we're going to kind of combine our sharing with any questions. So if you have questions that have been burning for you about this process of storytelling and condensing your story, please ask them. Or if you have something you'd like to share with us, we'd love for you to do so. To our viewers at home, to send that in, or right in this room, just raise your hand. Molly's got the microphone, and we'd love to hear from someone who's got a great story they'd like to share of how the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has helped someone they know and love.
I'll share one. Hi, I'm Scott from Atlanta. I have a daughter who will turn 32 in August. and she was diagnosed at age 3. And since her diagnosis, to say the least, we have been overwhelmed and always thinking every day about her living and her mortality. But the other thing, and state of her health, and she has involved disease. But I'd say second to the state of her health and her mortality has been, would she have the chance and the opportunity to experience love? And would somebody accept somebody with such a insidious disease as cystic fibrosis? And I'd say my great story is my daughter met this great guy, and they got married about 13 months ago. And now she knows what it's like to be loved unconditionally. And that has answered one of the biggest prayers and hopes that I ever had. And it would not exist if not for the community that has evolved over the years because of the CF Foundation. The first thing we were introduced to when my daughter was diagnosed were to elements of the foundation, both the care center options and to the family. We got involved immediately. So I have the foundation to thank for that, and it's great to me.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's an example of our dreams. You know, what's the world without CF look like? You know, what do we hope and dream for? And again, whether you have someone you love with CF in your life, or whether you're just a very passionate corporate volunteer, for example, this is something that you can share about the CF community. This is something that we should be taking the time to formulate and articulate and be ready to share with people. I love that example. Someone else have something they could share with us? Here's one.
I'll try to be quick so that maybe we can get her in too. Okay. One story that I like to share is some friends from the Charlotte chapter. The husband has CF, and they were basically debating whether or not they should have children because they didn't know if he would be around long enough. And she didn't ever want to raise children alone. And he got approved for Kalydeco and started taking it, and now they have beautiful twins. So
Aww.
Thanks, Jess.
Great story. Thanks, Jess.
So if I was in an elevator with someone and I had to give them 3 sentences about CF and CF Foundation, I would tell them, I'm gonna cry.
You can do it.
I would tell them, my daughter is one of only 30,000 people in the U.S. that has cystic fibrosis, and with a diagnosis that carries so much uncertainty. The one thing that our family can control is our contributions to the CFF and our involvement in the CFF to further advances to lengthen her life. Because of the CFF and the advances that they have made to date, the proactive approach of the care centers and our doctors and nurses, she's been remarkably healthy so far, and she only takes 2 medicines a day. But CFF is progressive, and we can't take for granted that that will always be the case. Ultimately, I want her life to be just as long, just as full as her sister's who does not have CF, and that's why we do what we do.
Beautiful. What is your name, hon? Where are you from?
I'm Erin from Fort Worth.
Amy?
Erin.
Erin. Okay. Thank you, Erin. Erin, that was beautiful, and I think really beautiful, and the perfect little story to kind of wrap on, because it really says it all. So, you know, what we'd like to maybe have you think about is just the fact that, as a good friend of mine often says, you know, like the apples and seed things, and I know I'm going to mess this up. He always gets it right, but, you know, we know how many seeds are in an apple. You can take it apart and count them, but you never know how many apples could be in that seed that you planted. So it's not just about that moment. It's about what we do as volunteers and how we engage in the multiplication of the passion that we have. So keep that in mind. Make it a priority, not just for you, but for those key volunteers in your chapter. My counterparts up here came up with a great challenge we'd like to send out to not only everybody in this room, but everybody who's listening live, is that these questions, these examples, you can go on social media, and this way we can all share and see all of our answers. Why should I care? Go on Twitter. You've got 140 characters. Why should I care? Why do you care about this organization? How would you condense that into 140 characters? Why should someone engage in the foundation? Let's see those tweets. Let's encourage each other and inspire each other with these answers. And then we'd like to see a post on Facebook telling a compelling story about someone with CF who has been directly impacted by this organization. In just a few short sentences, what would that be? And in this way, you can inspire the storytellers. We want an army of storytellers across this nation for cystic fibrosis, because it's what we do. And thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. We encourage you to continue to put some thought into this and take this home with you. And we appreciate all your time and energy for this session. Thank you.